He had been studying for 8 months before the plane landed. Verb tables written by hand, recordings played on the drive to work, a notebook filled with phrases he tested against himself at traffic lights. He arrived in Lyon prepared. The cafe was 2 minutes from the apartment his company had leased for him. Stone walls, the same woman behind the counter each morning, coffee that arrived without being asked for by the third day. He kept asking for it anyway. Every morning, the same routine. He would approach the counter, compose a sentence in his head, and deliver it, carefully. Then he would attempt something further, a comment about the weather, a question about the weekend. The woman was patient with him. She answered, kept her pace slow. He could feel his tongue working against him. 3 months passed. He maintained the routine. The lessons continued in the evenings. He tracked his progress in the notebook. The sentences came out clearer. The pronunciation was closer. But the effort did not ease. Every exchange still required the same sequence. Locate the word, construct the structure, check the tense, open his mouth. He was still assembling the language the way a man assembles furniture from a manual, piece by piece, consulting the diagram before placing anything. He was not slow, but he was not free. Then came a Tuesday in November. He was halfway out the door of his apartment when his phone began. Messages, then calls. A system that should not have been reachable has been reached. Code that should have been caught had not been. A client's platform was down, and his team was waiting for direction. He stood at the footpath for 40 minutes, pacing, talking, walking through the problem. The day was cold, but he didn't notice. By the time the platform was resolved, he was running late and still moving fast. He pushed through the cafe door. The woman looked up from behind the counter. He spoke. He told her about the morning, the problem, the hours it took, the particular relief of watching a system come back online. He used words he did not know he had. The past tense arrived without effort. The rhythm was different, faster, looser, the consonants landing where they belong. She laughed at something he said. He picked up the coffee, said goodbye, walked back into the street. He was half a block away when he stopped. He stood on the pavement. The morning was grey. People moved past him in both directions. A tram bell rang somewhere behind him. He stayed still. He replayed it. The order, the complaint about the problem, the past tense verbs arriving without being fetched, her laugh. He nodded, smiled. Then he kept walking. Something moved in that story. You felt it before you understood it. And that's where we begin. Most of what a man does, he does not decide. He follows the groove worn into him by repetition, by habit, by years of thinking the same thoughts in the same order, arriving at the same conclusion, taking the same road. He calls it choice, but it is rarely that. For every conscious thought a man produces, his unconscious mind has already processed 200,000. 200,000. The steering wheel turns, but the engine, the suspension, the fuel, the balance, none of that is his. He just directs. He does not operate. This is not weakness. It is not a flaw in the design. It is the design. The body does not wait for permission to breathe. The heart does not pause for instruction. 1,000,000 blood cells replaced each second, without awareness, without effort, and without credit. The machine just runs. The man at the wheel believes he is driving it. There is a deeper problem than that. If a man has a choice between two doors and gets nudged towards one of the doors before he has decided which one to take, he will walk through that door and then reports that he had always intended to. The brain did not register the interference. It went back and wrote it itself into the decision. It told him a story, and he believed it. This is what the unconscious does. It acts. Then it hands the record to the conscious mind and says, "You chose this." And the conscious mind accepts the record because it has no other account of events. A man walks through his day believing he is the author. He makes his coffee the same way. He brushes his teeth in the same order, drives the same route, thinks the same cluster of thoughts about the same cluster of problems. He calls it personality, his preferences, his life. Most of it is not chosen. Most of it is load-bearing habit, built incrementally, maintained without inspection. Here is what matters. The fact that most of a man's behavior is automatic does not remove him from responsibility for it. It changes where that responsibility begins. A machine set in motion does not correct its own course. It follows the groove until the groove ends or until something applies force in a different direction. The groove is not fate, but it behaves like fate when it goes unexamined. Discipline is not what a man does in a moment of decision. Discipline is what a man has already built into the structure of his days. The decisions he makes without thinking are the product of every choice he made when he was paying attention, or every choice he failed to make. Both leave marks. The mind is a tool. Like a hammer, it does not care what it strikes. It will do the same thing 10,000 times without complaint. It will carry a pattern long after the pattern serves its purpose. It will replay a habit the way a record replays a groove. It does not ask whether the track still belongs to his life. This is the work, not understanding the unconscious, but governing it. Not eliminating habit, but deciding which habits are permitted to run. A man who examines his patterns and finds them acceptable has done honest work. A man who examines his patterns and finds them foreign to who he intends to be must choose, leave the groove, or stay in it. There is no third option. The steering wheel is real. The ability to turn it is real. But a man who never questions the road he is on mistakes momentum for direction. Speed is not progress. Repetition is not purpose. Most of what runs in a man is running from years ago, built when circumstances were different, useful then, unexamined since. The question is not whether the machine is running. It is running. The question is whether the man at the wheel knows where it's headed. Awareness is not enough. Awareness without adjustment is just watching. But adjustment without awareness is blind force, pushing against the weight without knowing what holds it in place. Both are required in that order. The work begins at the edge of habit, where a man notices himself reaching for the same thought again, the same reaction, the same groove, and pauses, not to stop the machine, but to ask whether this particular road was chosen or simply inherited. That pause is not small. It is the difference between a man who is moved by his history and a man who moves through it. The groove runs deep. It was carved by years. It will not shift from a single decision, but a single decision, repeated with the same consistency that built the groove in the first place, will carve a new one. That is the only way it has ever worked. The machine does not choose its purpose. The man does, quietly, without ceremony, in the 10,000 ordinary moments where attention is easier to surrender than to hold.